everyone. You're watching Holla at a Hero, where we talk with everyday heroes doing incredible work to bring kingdom on earth. I'm Charity, and I'm the Director of Connections and First Impressions at Church of the City East, and I am so excited I get to share my conversation with Bev and Rachel from the YCAP. YCAP is the YMCA Community Action Program where they provide some of Nashville's most underserved youth with programs and services like mentoring, coaching, one-on-one literacy tutoring, intervention and prevention programs, as well as college readiness and access resources. In this episode, we talk about the March tornado, how COVID-19 has affected their programming, and just how special YCAP is to us at East. To find out more about the YCAP and the work that they're doing, visit them online at ymcamid10.org, as well as on all the socials. Don't forget to follow and subscribe the Church of the City East Nashville YouTube channel so that you never miss an episode of Holla at a Hero and that you can check out other great content that we've uploaded for you. I love and miss each one of you, and I hope that you're staying well and washing your hands. Take care of one another. We can do this. We are doing this. Yes. Love y'all.
There it is.
There we go. Hey gals, how's it going?
Good,
Hi.
good.
Everyone, these are my friends Bev and Rachel. They are from our beloved YCAP, and I'm super excited to get to chat with them, kind of find out what life's been like the past couple months. And for those that don't know, YCAP is one of our missional partners and our home away from home. And I'm excited to introduce you guys to Rachel and to Bev. If you guys don't mind just kind of saying who you are, what you do, and kind of what your role is at YCAP.
Sure. I'll start. I'm Bev Revo. I'm Executive Director of Outreach for YCAP, which is a fancy way to say that I am charged with raising funds for all of the work that we get to do here at YCAP.
Perfect.
And my name is Rachel Folk, and I have the pleasure of serving as the Community Outreach Director for YCAP. And what that basically means is that I support all of our kindergarten through 12th grade programs through supplying volunteers and community engagement opportunities for them, as well as being an advocate in the community for our programs and for our youth and our families.
Awesome. Bev, if you don't mind sharing with us what YCAP is and who you guys serve.
Yeah, absolutely. So first I'll tell you that YCAP stands for something. We are the YMCA of Middle Tennessee's Community Action Program. We are a group of 5 programs that serve at-risk and underserved students in Davidson County. Like Rachel said, that's kindergarten through 12th grade. We really look to serve with academic, emotional, and spiritual support. So all of those tenets, focusing not only on students being successful in school, but helping them expand their vision really to dream bigger. I know that's a big part of what we hope that they get out of their interaction with YCAP, that they can claim God's best plan for their future. That's the way I always like to say that. So whatever that is, helping them dream bigger. So just to sort of break that down a little, K through 12, that means in elementary school, we're focusing on literacy with our students. MMPS is not hitting the bar with literacy the way we hope. 2 out of 3 third graders in MMPS are not reading on grade level, which is a terrible predictor for life, for success in school, but and not only that, but where they go after school. So we know that that's something we need to focus on. In middle school is after school and summer programs for students. So we want to provide a safe space to make progress social, emotional, spiritual, and academically for middle schoolers who really would not be safe without someone to look after them after school. That's a real important thing that we do sort of in buckets of work. We'll talk more about that later. And then in high school, our work with achievers to serve minority and immigrant students so that they can plan for life after graduation.
Gotcha. That's awesome. And then Rachel, talk to us a little bit about what the original programming at YCAP offered, what it was and what you guys offered.
Yeah, so before our current situation with the tornado, with COVID, we were offering the programs that Bev just mentioned, elementary, middle, and high school programs for students across the city, which was about 1,200 students all throughout the entire year with all those programs. And almost all of our programming actually occurred previously at after-school sites at metro schools. We had about 30 schools that we were in throughout the weeks and throughout the months. And then we had about 4 YMCA centers, 4 community sites across the city. And then, of course, our beloved YCAP building in East Nashville that we programmed at as well. So we were actually spread out across the whole city, you know, before this happened anyway. So being spread out was something that we were already doing, just a little differently. So.
Okay. So you had mentioned YCAP East building and the tornado. So we'll get to the hard stuff. Walk us through kind of March 2nd, March 3rd, kind of what, Rachel, you can start with just kind of where your heart was, where your mind went, just kind of just as initial reintroduction to that space.
Yeah, sure. So what seems like almost a lifetime ago now, which was, you know, just a little bit over a month ago, you know, the evening of March 2nd going into the early morning of March 3rd, you know, like all of us in Nashville, you know, went to bed and didn't realize what we were going to wake up to the next morning. I woke up in the middle of the night, like probably many did, and started looking on social media and seeing some of the places that I loved in East Nashville that so many of us recognized that were just destroyed. And so looking back on it now, maybe not the best idea, but I did choose to get in my car and actually drive to YCAP at about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. Because for me personally, that space, 1021 Russell Street, which is the address, is the only address I've ever had on a business card in my entire life. So that space means a whole lot to me personally, you know, let alone all of the folks that have come through that building as a part of our program and all our partners that have shared that space with us. And so, you know, driving up to that space through what felt like a war zone, you know, through all of the debris that was all over the power lines that were all across the streets, pulling up to what I so, you know, was familiar with, and all of a sudden just didn't know where I was. And just seeing all of that for the first time and really trying to take it all in was very surreal. You know, I tried to put what I knew was familiar into this new reality, and it just wasn't working because nothing looked familiar. And so what looked familiar was upside down, or was you know, completely in a new place than it was just a few hours before. And so it took a while for me to wrap my head around it early that morning. And, you know, I think as far as how my heart was feeling, you know, just really heartbroken, you know, in a lot of ways. And that for my own personal experience there, but the experience of so many, like I said, that have come through those doors and who have experienced so many incredible moments, and, you know, all the conversations that we've had in that space, and the kids who have played basketball and you know, built relationships, and, you know, made success in their homework, and you know, met people that they never would have met before within those walls. And then of course the you know, relationship that we had with Church of the City, and the Wednesday nights that were spent in there, you know, with our students, singing and playing games and just being together. There's so many memories just go through your mind when you look at it all, and just see it in a whole new light, you know, through the tornado. So
yeah. And Bev, I'd love to hear just kind of your thoughts and your team when you guys were finally able to get together. just kind of
Yeah.
how that went, just a couple days later.
You can't make a plan for something like this. Like you can make a disaster recovery plan, but I don't think you can make an emotional plan for what that looks like. That being said, I am incredibly proud of this team. In the midst of the pain and emotions and what you just heard from Rachel, good job, Rachel, because that is, I think, as solid a way as anybody could talk about the anguish and pain that I know we all navigated, and you specifically navigated that week. I was just so incredibly proud that in the midst of that, we came together the next day, first at that terrible destroyed site, and then drove ourselves to another YMCA center. So we had the benefit of having these other roofs, these other buildings that the YMCA owns, that took us in and said, here, make homes with us for now. And so in those temporary quarters, we just began to rise. I don't know another word. I thought it from the first day. It was just not, we didn't spend any time. Well, okay, we spent moments grieving and mourning, but we didn't spend any time not getting busy. So we said, there are students who are still going to need us, and how will we do that? And I think that purpose that remained in the faces of the students that we still had in front of us were our primary concern. Honestly, I don't know how we would have navigated that tornado and that destruction without work that felt more important than our emotions at the time. I know that personally helped me process it a lot. So we were back in business in new places, in new ways within a couple of days of the tornado. When students went back to school, we were ready to meet them right back in those after school programs, right back with literacy tutoring, achievers clubs meeting. We were ready. And then, of course, that was not the only things that we were going to navigate in March.
That's the truth. So you had mentioned, being accessible to the students just as soon as the doors opened, back to school and back to some sense of normalcy. How, if you can share, how did the students respond to the actual facility that was lost? And if there were any moments of hope that you guys can share. Obviously, the getting back into it, just like, hitting the ground running, allowed for pathways of hope to be forged. So I would love to hear just kind of how the students responded.
Yeah, I'll share. Like Bev said, we really got to work as much as we could. And I think an important thing that we did was that a couple of us in leadership roles within YCAP created a video to show to our students on their first day back, not just the students whose home was at YCAP, but all of our students across the whole city who were in schools and who were in community sites and who were meeting at, all these other places. But the tornado wrecked us all, whether it took our home or our office, no matter what, it wrecked us all. And so we created a video just to welcome them back to whatever space that they were in, and to just say, we missed you, we're here for you, and this is hard for us too. Because I think it was so important for us as staff to model what it looks like to go through, this grief process and to go through this disaster. And, I got the pleasure of actually going to hang out with some of our students who actually were the ones that were on site at YCAP for their program, our Positive Beginnings middle school students. They were meeting at the Margaret Maddox YMCA in East Nashville. Excuse me. And so that was their new location after the tornado. And so I actually got to go with them and meet and just talk through this process with them and be there to listen. It was really, really important for us to create a safe space for them to begin to process together, because as I met with them, we walked through and showed them pictures of the space. They wanted to see them. And when we felt like that was going to be okay, they'd seen so many pictures online, or on, the news and all that. And so we sat with them, just me and 2 students at a time, and just really talked through it. And I just did a lot of listening. And you could really tell that for many of them, that was the first time that they'd even processed through what had happened, not just at YCAP, but just in general. And so it was such a cool time to allow them to ask questions, and to allow them to tell their tornado story. Because whether you were in your basement or in your safe space, with a tornado on top of you, or whether you were somewhere far away, you still have a tornado story. And so it's just so important for them to be able to share that and to hear from their peers, what's going on and how they're feeling, and to have an adult say it's okay to feel however you feel.
Yes.
And so I think the hope in that, is just that while, our building is, pretty much destroyed, and we're not able to be in there right now, and who knows what it looks like in the future, but even though that is taken away from us, our kids still feel like they belong, and that they still have a space that they feel safe, and that they're surrounded by, their peers and caring adults who really are there for them no matter what. And whatever happens in the future, I mean, not to ask the universe to show us what else could happen, but, I feel very strongly that that our students and our staff and our programs, are so much stronger right now than we were, March the 2nd even. And so I think that there is hope in that, and knowing that we can get through this together, and that we can turn inward and be here for each other. And that we always knew that we were more than a building, but now we really know that and understand that in a whole new way.
I feel like that's like the global church too. Like just church as a whole is learning that it's not the building, it's the people, it's the spirit that resides within it, and that moves. That's, I love to hear that, Rachel.
Yeah, and if you let me tell you one more thing too, you said we had about an hour, right?
It's approximately. I've got that frozen count now.
Yeah.
That's like please.
Yeah. But so, like I said, I'd been here at YCAP for 13 years. And so what that means is I've seen a whole lot of kids that have come through, right? And so one of the coolest things for me even, was to hear from so many of our alumni that are, older, they've graduated from college even, they're married, have kids, some of them. And so like they're living adult lives. And so they were reaching out, asking, how are we? And telling their stories of how, that was their home, and how much that space meant to them. And so just to know that, all these years later, that these kids, who are adults now, still have that strong bond to that space. But it's more than that, because they didn't write a letter or go and show up at the door. They reached out to me, and so that just gives me hope that even, 10, 13 years later, it is more than just that building, so that's really a hopeful thing for me.
Totally. I was just sharing with you guys earlier that we're so grateful for the work that you guys do, and that we get to, be witnesses of it. And we share, some of us, a lot of people can share in that heartbreak of the loss of the building, because of some of life's most monumental moments have happened in that building, whether it's baptisms or baby dedications or marriages. Some people, I know for me personally, it was healing a divorce, and being completely vulnerable and asking God for one simple friend or somebody to sit with at church, and he just revealed himself so kindly and generously, and has provided me a whole new family. And it happened in that building. So it means so much to so many people, and how you guys have stewarded hope It's really, really special, not just for y'all's kids, but for us too, to hear that you guys are doing okay, let alone thriving. It's just, it's such a gift.
Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun. We interrupt this riveting programming to bring you important announcements. If you find yourself or a loved one in need of support this season, we'd love to help. Visit churchofthecity.com/care for more information. Stay up to date with the latest events, important info, and good news by following us on Instagram at COTC East Nash. We want to hear from you. Share your story and how you have experienced God in this cultural moment by emailing us at connecteast@churchofthecity.com. Back to the show.
But enough about me. So right after the tornado, I mean, it wasn't even, 2 weeks, and I think we got like 1, maybe 2 Sundays out of it.
Yep.
And coronavirus hit. Bev, I want to hear, what does programming look like now? Like, what's changed?
Everything. You know what? I think the biggest thing I want to start, and it's always relevant, but it's particularly relevant to who we are now. We are only able to continue to serve because of grant funding. Mm-hmm. Truly, the YMCA of Middle Tennessee is not essential, closed its doors. All of that revenue stream stopped. So that is the reason we don't generate any funds, any revenue. It is all a gift or it's support from our association. So first, thank you to grant funding, including very generous support from Church of the City. YCAP would not be serving in this quarantine time if that were not the case. We were allowed to continue because those monies were in place. So what making us a missional partner, God knew would be needed differently now than ever before. And then with the generosity that continued from Church of the City, I can't thank you enough. So I want to start there. Even with all of that, and to be good stewards, we went from a staff of over 30 part-time and full-time employees to a staff of 8. There are 8 of us doing the work now. We've been pared down to what should be an essential staff, and in the midst of that, this mighty 8 group of people, you never want to be with another group of 7 other people. I can tell you what I've seen in the way that they have risen again to serve. So we spent that first week of quarantine after we were sent home, making a plan to reach out to over 1,000 students to survey them. So we wanted to step back and say, what do they need and how do we need to show up? We didn't want to just say we knew. So we reached out by phone call, email, text. I think we even mailed snail mail letters to see how many people we could be in touch with. We have transitioned all 5 of the programs that I mentioned, K through 12 now, to some sort of virtual learning. And we have engaged over 400 students out of that original quantity, which is amazing and way more than we thought we would find, and B, that they would engage with us. We have learned Zoom, Google Classroom, Skype, WebEx, probably some other stuff Rachel could tell you that I've forgotten. We're using all of the things. We found out from those contacts that our families need direct support, and that's not only food, necessities, books, but it's also we've become a social service narrator and navigator for our families. I think we tell them things about MNPS that MNPS doesn't tell them, or that they aren't able to find out. So we've become YCAP 3.0. That's what we're saying these days. We are what we were plus. We now make weekly food deliveries, including other necessities. And within that, there's digital access issues. So usually there's a few Chromebooks that are going out to our students that we use resources to purchase as well. So what does that look like exactly? Literacy is doing one-to-one tutoring online. They just put their little screens in front of them along with an adult volunteer, and they read a book from wherever they are, and they go through the very prescribed way that we help literacy, help them gain success in the classroom. Middle school is meeting in virtual classrooms for structure and relationships. One of our classes, the Positive Beginnings group that met at East, she found the first time that they were all connected by Zoom in a classroom that the average bedtime had been 3 a.m. the day before. Well, she's put them all on a schedule so that they are getting sleep, and that they are taking care of themselves so that they can meet and show up differently. And you know, as much as that structure is helping, we serve students who don't necessarily all have that at home. They don't necessarily have, certainly some of them do, but many of them do not have anyone who's watching how they're eating, how they're being taken care of when they go to bed. Are they safe online? So it's really critical that we're staying connected to our students. We're finding in lots of ways. Our high school group, the Achievers, are meeting one-on-one with seniors. Without our help, MNPS would fail them as they figure out how to still be planning for college in the fall. So I am really happy to report that seniors connected to our Achievers group are getting one-to-one help to make sure that they are ready and they don't just give up, which I think a lot of at-risk students might do that without resources. If they're first generation college and maybe mom and dad can't help, we're helping them continue to find funding and to continue to dream that college is possible. And they're using lots of creative ways for social media. So really interesting Instagram lives that are coming out of these Achievers group, but some really great connectional things are happening to reach out to the community. Let's see, what have I forgotten? We put an ACT prep class online, so they were meeting in person so that that could be finished. All of those things are ways that we're supporting students that the school system is not necessarily doing the same. What did I leave out, Rachel?
I think you covered pretty much everything. I would just add also we're sending out a weekly newsletter to all of our students and families and some partners that we have. It's about 430 folks that are getting that newsletter. And
Rachel, what is the opening rate for that newsletter?
It's about 40%. So we're feeling pretty good about that. I hear that's pretty good.
Right. That's right.
I feel like we're doing pretty good. But yeah, it really just provides activities for each age group. It provides a safe and trusted space for them to go and get information, for resources and for opportunities, for maybe even childcare for essential workers and for, jobs that may be coming up, for any kind of financial support that they may need, links to trusted sources that they can search for those things. And then also it's a space to spotlight and to highlight, some students who are doing some really cool stuff, even through the midst of all of this, because that's one thing that is kind of hard to do right now, is to celebrate, our students. And so we want to make sure that there is a space for that too, and also to celebrate some of our programs, individual work of what our programs are doing, so that our families can see that and know that all of this is happening, throughout the week. So it's a really cool thing too.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
That's awesome. So that kind of segues into my next question. So with all of, obviously a lot of kids, especially like the Positive Beginnings and the high schoolers, are super in tune to like virtual all the things and digital everything. So I would imagine that this new way of connecting provides kind of a new layer of relational strategy. So how have these new changes impacted the students?
Yeah, I will. I'll jump in here and say that you are exactly right. It has added a whole other dimension to our relationships with our students and families too. We have, I think probably we're seeing deeper and more meaningful connections with our students, and not only our students, but our families. Because not all of our programs were that connected to our families previously. Mostly our high school programs, we were talking with the high school students themselves for the most part and didn't engage the family as a whole that often. But we are now, reaching out to families to say, hey, what do you need? And we're getting responses of like, we didn't know that you guys did this, and at some level we're kind of like, we didn't either, but but we are now because this is what we need to be and this is where we need to be. So it really is deepening those relationships and building a new trust, I think, in our staff and in our programs. And I think that's just really, really cool to see, because our staff they're calling and checking in, on a weekly basis with most of the families that, they have in their programs. And then they're seeing so many of those kids every day on their, meetings online on their virtual classrooms. And so it's just really cool to be able to be a part of a team that has the ability to pivot, and to show up in this new way. And I think that our team, itself, the 8 of us, are building deeper and more meaningful relationships with ourselves. We're learning how to navigate things together as a team every day that we didn't used to see each other every day even.
Yeah.
And so we're even creating new relationships of our team, which is only impacting the work that we do. I know, I'm very confident in that. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh, I love that. And then another thing, so with all the shifts and the changes, you had mentioned, Bev, funding looks completely different than that 2020 budget. So what's changed? What needs have you guys found that our community can care for YCAP during this season?
I really appreciate you asking. We are, again, first, we are grateful. I would say something that we've only sort of touched on that I want to lift up. These students, your city students, connecting with our students and being available has been a real blessing during this time. We are sharing that out widely. Certainly, some of our students were already part of that group, but that is a real benefit. I want to say thank you, and I hope that continues. I know that really ramped up in the last couple of weeks. I love seeing some of those share outs from families and students where they're sort of leading. It's been really beautiful. So keep that coming. We want that to be a resource.
No, keep up the hard work, Charles Tolbert.
That's right.
And Nora's working hard too.
Oh my gosh.
For her
I know.
Yes.
So that resource is amazing, and we really appreciate it. Stay flexible with us. That's what I would say. Volunteering is going to look really different, and we're figuring that out. So early on, we were just using volunteers who were up and running and trained with us and our students. But we see this going longer, and we begin to talk about additional tutors, someone who reads with a student one-on-one through literacy. We're looking at doing some additional training there and bringing on some new mentors to supplement. So that's coming. All of those things. Rachel is obviously always your connection to volunteering, but I think folks who can engage with us virtually are going to continue to be needed in our programs. We don't know what YCAP looks like. We don't know what anything looks like in its new reality. But you said something really, really brilliant a few minutes ago, that some of these things that we have learned and done, we don't want to lose, right? They will be a huge blessing in addition to being in community personally, physically with our students, being together, but we don't want to lose this digital access. Some of the things that are being gained, just like Rachel said, with our staff, putting our students into these virtual classrooms where, especially in middle school, I see there's not the same friction. You know, middle school is a tough time to be, and it's all about, you know, who's wearing the right thing, what has happened, who likes who, who's friends with who. I think there's been some leveling in the virtual world if you can find what's good about that. So there's also space from each other all day at school where tough things have happened and just being glad to see each other. But I think there's some lessons that we're learning that we want to hang on to. So I don't know what that looks like, but I know that you guys are really forward thinking when it comes to this virtual, social, reality, you know, all of the new things. And so I could see your support being important there as we figure out what that looks like to be here and there together with our students. And we will hope in the new reality that we'll continue to be a program that you are proud of and want to stay partnering with, because like I said to start this, we're here because of your support in a great way. And so we hope that doesn't change. Pray for us, pray for our students. We're building all of this on a framework of prayer, I can tell you that. And so we really covet that you join us in that. We're sure of not too many things about what's going to happen when we say, what's the date and what does summer look like? But one thing I guess I would end with, the thing that we are certain about is that there will still be students that will need us. And just like Rachel said, we've now proven to ourselves 4 different times in the last month that we can pivot and that we can rise to meet it, whatever that new plan needs to look like. We're believing we can figure it out, and so that's our charge. In a lot of ways, it's been wonderful in the middle of terrible. We've found really great things to take away.
I love everything that you just said, and I can connect personal story to just about every one of those notes. This season is so weird, and these unknowns are so daunting. But it feels I at times feel selfish for enjoying the slowdown that kind of this moment has brought.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think I could take some of these new priorities and new like thought processes. I could take this back to the OG life, but that's not to say that I want to go back to OG life. I think there's I love the idea of a new normal and it looking a little bit more steady than what it has been. My last question for the both of you: what is one thing that you guys do to completely unplug, to not engage in noise and news and even YCAP? What is the one thing that you are doing to unplug from everything right now?
I'll go first. I think on a daily basis, from the working from home perspective, I have put in my calendar from 12 to 1 every day that it's lunch/me time.
Yes.
And so yeah, I go upstairs and I get away from my computer, I get away from my phone, and it took me a minute to get there. I didn't just figure it out, because you still think that you're at home, so you're at your office, and so you should be working. So it took me some time to really separate, but that is definitely something through the week that I make sure and keep as a sacred space in my day. And then outside of that, I have a hammock that I string up in my trees and just sit in for hours. So that's my for real, like, separate space.
Love that.
Gosh, Rachel, your answers are good. First thing I thought of was, I'm really eating a lot. I'm cooking, I'm eating. It's just been a shame. But to balance that, I've really started to walk a lot. So I was always a gym person. I'd go and work out and I'd really focus. And so I'm just getting outside, and it's really important, even though I have to stay away from people and they stay away from me. I walk, and noticing differently because I know I don't have a commute. So all of my commute time has become walking time. Really, when I think of it that way, when I think of the space that I had about a 45-minute to an hour commute home every night from YCAP East. And so I'm walking that time and really trying to remember that I'm trading that time in a commute that I didn't love for that. So that's probably the biggest unplugged time for me. Let's go with that instead of the eating.
I like that one. I like that. I can't relate to it. I need to be outside walking. I need to be moving. But yeah, I've always prioritized my sedentary behaviors. But I have other gifts.
Good for you.
I appreciate you guys so much for
Thank
taking
you.
the time, for sharing your hearts, for sharing part of your life with us. It's a joy to get to do. I am so thankful for the both of you and for your team and for letting us do life with your students. It's incredible. Y'all are incredible. I appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Sid.
Thanks so much.